This is Jordan Hobbs, and you're listening to Leaders in Next podcast.
Yeah, welcome everybody to the latest edition of Leaders in Next. This past offseason, the Michigan women's basketball team lost over half of its minutes played and the scoring production to the transfer portal. Today's guest, Jordan Hobbs, is the lone returning starter from last year and one of only 4 overall to return. And her play is a key reason why the women's basketball team is ranked in the top 25 for the first time in a year and a half. Jordan's hard to miss when you watch a game because she's on the court darn near all the time. 80% of the minutes played, she's logged, and she's the third leading scorer while leading the team in defensive rebounds. She's fresh off winning the championship of the Fort Myers tip-off. Jordan, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We're excited to talk. Now, before we jump into the semi-serious stuff, because we thought a little pregame warm-up is in order, so we've got some random questions to ask you.
All right.
I'll start off. If you weren't a basketball player, what sport would you be playing professionally?
Professionally?
Well, to make me like if your dream, like if you were like, okay, I'm going to do this and this is going to be my living, what would you play?
Tennis.
Tennis.
That's the first tennis you've ever got in like
first
19
tennis
episodes. What's up with tennis?
Wow. I just think it's really fun. I've only played for fun, never even in high school or anything, but I think it's great exercise and you get breaks every point too. So like it's not getting your heart rate up too much, but I don't know. It's just fun to hit the ball as hard as you can, you know?
Well, now I'm surprised you played a little hockey when you were younger.
Yeah.
I did. Hockey is a good time, but there's not as many opportunities. Like there's really not even a professional women's league. So.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe that'll change in a few years.
Have you gotten swept into the pickleball phenomenon? Or I mean, I know that's not tennis. I know that, but like, have you gotten swept up in that?
Absolutely. This summer, we live pretty close to Burns Park in Ann Arbor, so They have a pickleball court, and me and the roommates would go quite often.
On pickleball, Dan is in the healthcare space. The statistics, I don't know if the coach cleared you to play pickleball, because apparently, maybe this is just because old people play it, but the amount of orthopedic injuries that the healthcare industry is facing has significantly increased because of pickleball.
This is all true.
Do you think that's because the amount of old folks playing the
probably
sport?
Because they are not probably in the same shape that you are, but I mean, likely true. So just be careful. All right. What's your pet peeve?
When people are late. Hate that.
Well, we're going to talk later. I know you're kind of in the business world with Ross, but being late to meetings is like that can be a real bad thing. So that's a good pet peeve to have.
And you were spot on time for this. So you're
right
practicing what you preach. So
yeah, got it. I mean, Coach Arico has her own time. It's called Arico time. We got to be 15 minutes early to everything.
Early, okay.
You know, nothing bad. I'm an old guy, right? But, I'm kind of old school, but nothing bad ever happens when you show up early to something. I mean, the worst that can happen is you show up and they ask you to help set up the room, or, you get dragged into doing something. But okay, being late, being 5 minutes late, you might as well just not show up, because then you could have a better excuse. Like if 5 minutes late is like, that's bad.
Exactly.
Be like 50 minutes late and basically say, hey, my car broke down. But anyway. All right,
I'm sure there's something in there. One of the things we like asking too is we know there's a lot of shenanigans that like go on during a game. My guess is you're locked in, but like during timeouts, there's there's all the contests when the fan has to make like a layup, then a free throw, then a 3-pointer, like a half court shot. You ever take a peek at that, or are you too locked in?
I'm too locked in. I do the song in like the third quarter where it's like da na 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 na.
The Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Yeah, I am watching the stands during that, and like low key, I'll be like tapping my foot to the music when coach is talking. Nice. But my aunt was in the Fort Myers, and she did like the layup, free throw, 3-pointer, and she hit them all. And she was like, "Did you see?" And I was like, "No, I'm sorry, but
her claim to fame, and you didn't even see it. So that's too bad.
I know
All right.
it
That's a
really is."
tradition that's really stood the test of time, because like that was a thing when I was a student. Probably goes back. I think it started in hockey, but yeah, it's really hung in there.
Yeah, it
Well,
has.
well, you've been in town a long time, so you must have a favorite place to eat. What is it?
I have a few. Mani, the
Mom?
Italian.
Yep.
I would say that's probably top of the list. I like Tomakin Noodle Bar
Okay.
on Liberty and Chapala. That's like top three.
Monty, did you run into Davis Warren at Monty ever?
No, I haven't. I ran into Juwan one time.
Okay. It's a Davis Warren's one of his. It's been mentioned before, so it must be a good place. Well, you didn't mention a pizza place, but if you're ordering pizza, are you a thick, thin, Detroit style? What's your go-to?
Thin. If I'm ordering pizza, I'm getting it from Joe's.
Okay. So follow-up question. It's a fan submitted question. We're taking a poll. Does pineapple belong on pizza?
Absolutely not.
Perfect.
I can't
I'm
even
with
say
you.
I've tried it, and I never will.
Yeah, I don't get it. My son thinks it's okay. We're just going to agree to disagree. Okay. Do you do you have any pregame rituals that you know or superstitions that help you get in the zone before a big game?
I can't really say I do. I honestly, I just have a routine before, and it's just my shooting routine. Like,
Okay.
gotta make 25 mid-range and then like 35 threes. But if my shot doesn't feel good, I keep going until it feels good. But once it feels good, I shut it down and then wait for the team warm up. But I get out to the court like 2 hours ahead of time.
What's the feeling? Like, how do you know it's feeling good? Is it literally a feeling, or is it just you make a certain percentage?
It's just a feeling. Like, if I'm hitting probably, I don't know the exact percentage, but if I'm hitting like 85%, I'll shut it down and just have that confidence going into the game.
Now, before the game, every team does this, right? When they're introducing the people, you're going through the gauntlet of other players. You got secret handshakes, you got dance moves. So I'm always curious, who's in charge of the choreography?
It's kind of up to each individual. There's not really one person that comes up with it. A lot of our pregame stuff is like rituals that we've done over the years, but
Okay.
like when it comes to the handshakes, it's like Macy does our handshakes this year, and she'll just go up to each individual and be like, "What do you want?" And they'll normally just come up with something on the spot.
Nice.
One of the cool things so in basketball, we've got the maize unis, we got the whites, we got the blues. I'm curious. Like I have a very strong preference of the three. Do you?
I like blue the best.
Yeah.
It's just such a sharp. It's so sharp. Like, I don't know. I love it. I love the blue a lot.
In like they don't wear it a ton. I feel like I feel like white is the primary home. Is maize the primary away, or is
We wear white and maize for home.
yeah?
So we typically don't wear maize away. It'll either be because we have our pitch uniforms now too. So we'll do pitch navy or navy for away games.
What's the pitch? What's pitch navy?
It's basically black, but it's like one shade under black. So they're basically black. Like on camera, you couldn't tell that it was anything but.
Okay. Okay.
Pick those up. I guess that's just another way to sell more jerseys. Yeah.
I guess, yeah.
All right. So you get called by America's Got Talent. What's the routine? What is your hidden talent?
I'm really good at catching food in my mouth. If someone tosses it to me, yeah.
We're not gonna ask you to demonstrate that now, but okay. How did you learn that you had this skill?
I don't really remember. I remember one time though, our family has a wake boat, and I was surfing behind it, and I was catching almonds in my mouth as I was surfing behind the wake boat.
Oh, we got to get video of this.
Well, I
This
was
could be
gonna
on your.
ask, because I
Yeah.
didn't know if the skill was like you had to throw it to yourself, like that was part of it, was like it was all self fed, or if anyone could be throwing it. It sounds like anyone could be throwing it.
Yeah, anyone can.
Damn, that's
This
impressive.
this ought to be a post on your Instagram account. This could get a lot of views. So when you're not on the court, what do you do in your downtime?
A lot of studying, a lot of just hanging out with my roommates. We like rot on our couch and just watch TV or just talk. But if it's anything active, like I love going on walks around Ann Arbor. Like I think it's just such a cool town. So try to embrace it as much as I can. And then in the summer, there's just so much more to do. Like we mentioned pickleball. We love doing that. We like going to any body of water. The docks are always popular in Ann Arbor. So I would say those things.
Are you rooming with other members of the team, or do you have a group of other folks?
I have Alyssa's rooming with me and Greta, and then a retired gymnast who's finishing her master's.
Nice.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Dan, Greta is from Naperville.
What's that?
Greta is from Naperville.
Oh, nice.
So she went to Naperville North. And so before moving to Ann Arbor, both, Dan grew up in Naperville, which is where Greta's from. So,
Yeah.
Maybe we'll say hi to her someday.
Yeah. I would have been in high school and she was probably, well, we won't go there, but she must be good people.
Yeah.
You mentioned rotting on the couch, watching some shows. What's on the list? What are you watching these days?
I mean, right now, it's a lot of like Christmas corny rom-coms. Hallmark is our stuff here.
Oh no.
Yeah, I know. It's so predictable though. Like you can do your homework while watching it. So
it's the same. It's like, isn't it the same set of actors? It's the same guys and the same women. It's just
I mean, there's got to be a pool of like 20 of them just cycling through. But I mean, it's so predictable. It's great. You don't have to pay attention at all. Other than that, we love Outer Banks on Netflix. We like Suits. That's a great show.
Great show.
Yeah, I was really into that last year and finished it. So I'd say those are our favorites.
Yeah, Suits. My wife and I watched Suits when it was first out, and then it's been, then it came back to Netflix or wherever it is now. I guess it's Netflix, and we re-binged it again and I'd be watching this stuff going, I don't remember. Neither one of us would remember it, and we're still like, this is the greatest acting. So shout out to Suits.
So good.
Are you able to study like kind of anywhere? Like I had friends like that could study at the house on their bed, or like, do you need to be like in the library or even like locked in an empty classroom to lock in and study?
I'm pretty anti going elsewhere. Like I think it's helpful, but I just after practice and everything, I like don't want to leave. So I'll just go in my room. I can go on my bed, but I do a method when I study. It's like 25 minutes of like locking in. Then you get like a 5-minute phone break, and then you just repeat until you feel good. That's been super helpful.
Huh.
Isn't that how like, he didn't have a cell phone, but like, didn't Leonardo da Vinci do something really weird like that? Didn't he wasn't that his life was he would be awake for like 45 minutes and then sleep for 15 and be awake for 45 and just sleep for 50. I think he legitimately like lived like that.
That's crazy.
I mean,
you can't enter REM doing that.
No.
How do you get any rest?
No. And that's probably
where the hell did you come up with that? I mean, that's such a random thing. Okay, we got to get back on track. Man.
Okay, here we go.
Oh,
I'm sorry. It wasn't that crazy, but it's called an Uberman sleep cycle, and you take a 20-minute nap every 4 hours.
Oh,
that sounds horrible.
Yeah, that does.
But nobody does that. So, all right, we're going to wrap up the pregame. We've asked the questions up to this point. It may not be fair, but you don't have to answer. Or you don't have to ask us a question, but you get to ask us a question.
Ooh. Ooh, that's tough. Okay. No, I don't want to ask that one. I guess I'll ask you favorite building in Ann Arbor.
Oh. Well, okay.
Go for it, Dad.
Is it considered a building? I mean, I got to be honest. It'd be the big house.
Okay.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
followed by when I was a student, my favorite building was West Engineering. When I was here, engineering was still on main campus. It wasn't on North Campus, and that was my favorite building. Dan, what's yours?
Oh, well, I mean, big house first. But as far as like academic buildings, I would say probably the grad library. No, the law
Okay.
library. Law library.
Oh,
That's
Um,
valid.
yeah,
ooh, I should have said the law library is that is a wonderful piece of
that's
architecture.
because
Yeah.
from the outside you can admire it. If you ever walk through
Yeah.
the law quad when it's snowing, it's like really it's
Yeah.
beautiful. But it's also the quietest place in the world. So if you do need to lock it, I could never do the study at home thing. I always had to be out somewhere. So yeah, law library.
I couldn't do it that quiet. I couldn't do it at a library that quiet though. Like I'd be so self-conscious that I'm like tapping my leg or something.
Yeah, it does get in your head a little bit because then you kind of
Yeah.
forget there's other people around you. Then you like look
Yeah.
up from your thing and you're like, oh yeah, I forgot. Like I'm in public. Yeah.
And the problem is when it's that quiet, there's always one person there with a cold who is sniffling,
Yes.
and you like hear it. It
Yeah.
sounds like the loudest thing ever. So, all right. Well, now that we're warmed
Well,
up,
I am
we're going to get
curious,
into.
like,
Oh,
if we were in the stands, let's say that we were fans, and now we're in the context of like a basketball game. If you like, what would you ask a fan, like more in the like someone who's watching your game from the outside, watching the game? Do you have any like? Yeah, just curious what you'd ask them.
Like specifically about women's basketball or just a Michigan fan?
either
Uh,
one.
I would say specifically about basketball.
Okay. Um Probably what was their favorite game they've attended and why?
We went to, I mean, for women, we went to the Sweet 16 game. What was the Sweet 16 game we hosted here?
We didn't host a sweet well, yeah, to get to this like it was
Sorry,
round of 32.
The round of 32.
We played Villanova.
Villanova. Yeah, we went to the Villanova game, and
Yeah.
that was a pretty scrappy game from what I remember.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
Yeah, that was probably my favorite, favorite women's college basketball. But Jordan, I don't know if you knew this, but I actually was in the Michigan Daily as a freshman because I went to a women's basketball game dressed up as Superman. My roommate was
Wow.
Batman, and we got courtside, and we were actually asked to leave because one of us grabbed one of the cheerleaders. We got a little bit big for our britches and thought the fans were really into it. Got one of those big megaphones, and they politely asked us to
Oh no.
leave, like we just leave the court side. But
Yeah.
a brief moment of fame. This would have been 2007, but yeah, I blew it. Could have been a mascot.
Coulda, even though Michigan doesn't have one, but that's okay.
That's true.
Yeah, we're so cool. We don't have a mascot. So, all right. Well, let's turn kind of to your basketball and Michigan days. Just curious, when did you start playing basketball, and what made you fall in love with the game?
I started playing in second grade. I played hockey before that, and my parents had to really push me into basketball because hockey wasn't as big in Ohio as it was in New Hampshire, where we previously lived. So, funny story, kind of. I told them that if they put me in speed and agility classes, that I would play basketball. And I don't know why I said that. Like, who wants to do speed and agility classes in like second grade? Like, that is so weird.
Who even knows about them in second grade?
I know. I'm sure my brother was like doing it or something, and I just wanted to be like him. But and my parents were like, "All right, double win. Yeah, you can do that." And then I think I just like had a natural knack for it, and that's just kind of when I started loving it. And I think really when I just was hanging out with my friends and like had an excuse to go hang out with my friends every day after school, and that's when I just was like, yeah, this is cool. I'm good at it, and it's just fun.
Now, I read, in your background that, you fell in love with it, but you didn't really always love the game. In seventh grade, apparently you got cut,
Yeah.
and it kind of started, the cycle went from love to not so much loving it. walk us through how you regained the love for the game, because I think there's some key people in that journey back.
Yeah. So I got cut from my AAU team, and then going into, I think, 8th grade year was when I got cut. And then that year had like such a fun school year basketball season, kind of gained some confidence back, and then joined an AAU team that was not as good as the previous team, but I knew I would play and enjoy it. So I was like, yeah, let's go for it. And just absolutely loved it. Like, there was no pressure at all. Like, I was playing a lot, playing up with the older girls, but also playing with my age group. So was just able to play as much as I could, which was the best thing in the world at the time. And then reconnected with the AU program, but not the coach that cut me. He had gotten away, thank goodness. But reconnected with that program, and that was already after I was loving it again and just like gained all that confidence back. And then rejoined that program going into freshman year of high school. And even with that team in 8th grade, like started getting recruited, and that was like wild to me that I was getting recruited at a Division I level going into freshman year. And yeah, that was just super fun. Like, I feel like it's just fun when you're a kid and you're like the number one option and you just like get to shoot whatever shot you want. You have the ultimate green light and you're just like, yeah, let's go ball.
That's awesome. Whatever happened to that coach? Did you ever keep tabs on where he went?
Yeah. He like low-key thinks we're like cool now. And I'm like, no, like we're not cool. But he'll like, every time I see him in person, he'll like give me a hug. I'm like, yeah, I don't mess with you, but that's okay. Yeah. I'll act cordial just to be, but I know what you did. So,
but every great basketball player seems like they have the "I got cut" story, because Michael Jordan gets cut from his high school basketball team, so it's just part of the fuel for the fire.
Absolutely. Even freshman year I was like playing JV too, so that added even more, and it was great.
He probably knew he messed up at that, or quickly thereafter.
He's not. So we're not going to tag him on the Instagram post. Okay, fine.
Yeah,
he's out. Probably. He's out. Now, again, it sounds like it was a little up and down ride in terms of love and basketball, because then it sounds like your junior year, it was a grind, a lot of pressure, and you kind of said, "Hey, I'm not sure I want to play college ball." How did that come about?
Yeah, I think it was actually my senior year, because junior year I had committed to Rice. That year wasn't like, I was still enjoying it, but senior year like just started to put a bunch of pressure on myself. I thought like I needed to live up to the expectation and show people that like I deserved to be a D1 athlete and needed to prove to them that I belonged at that level, and like really no one was worried about that. I just like put those false expectations on myself. So that was like really hard to deal with. I would check my stats like after every game, and I wanted my field goal percentage to be at 50% or above, and like all these things, and just like came to a breaking point, and I was like, no, I need a break, or I need to quit. Like, I don't know what it is. So I stepped away for like 3 weeks, and it was close to the end of my high school season, and it was really hard. My parents would still support the team and like go to our games, and I would be at home because I just couldn't even bear watching. And like my mom was so upset when this was going on. Like, it was our last home game I didn't even play in high school, and she just told me she was crying and it was such a mess, which was really hard. But eventually a lot of people helped me out and were in my corner that year, and helped me through it, and just kind of pushed me to get back out there and like find my love for it again. And I ended up coming back, and like 2 games later scored my 1,000th point in high school, which was always a huge goal of mine. So that was really cool. And then I don't even remember how far we went in the tournament. I don't think it was crazy, the state tournament that year. But ended up coming back and being way more mentally strong.
Now, you mentioned it was part of that recovery, player's box.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit, for people that don't know what that is. I know it's a program in where you were going to high school. Tell us a little bit about their role in your kind of reacquiring the love for the game.
Yeah. Basically it was just through my church, and it was a program to help you like gain mental toughness from different aspects and having a growth mindset and just all these lessons. And my pastor, who I'm super close with, led it, and my trainer was also one of the leaders. So I think honestly, the thing I got most out of it was the relationships that I built and like how people just poured into me. Because even during that time, like my trainer would encourage me to come into the gym and like would be so patient with me. And if I wasn't feeling it one day, like he wouldn't pressure me to even touch a ball. And I just like knew he cared for me outside of basketball, and same with my pastor and everyone involved. So just like knowing that I have worth beyond the game, I think was the main thing that they helped me realize.
Now let's talk recruiting. You mentioned, you're getting these early offers. Do you remember what was your first offer?
It was Marshall in West Virginia.
Sure.
Yeah, they offered me, I think it was my sophomore year, in September, and I didn't get another offer until for like probably 9 more months. But I was not a fan of Marshall. I can't lie. I told my parents if that was the only offer I had, I just wouldn't play basketball because I just did not want to be in Huntington, West Virginia.
Oh man.
No shame in that. No shame in that.
The staff was great, but I was just like, I would just like honestly rather be a NARP and enjoy my college than be in West Virginia. So
now NARP, is that normal ass regular person?
Non-athletic regular person.
Okay.
Yeah.
Close. That's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not a term we throw around a lot, but I got it.
Wait to use it on my
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Put it on your LinkedIn resume. Yeah, that's cool. So you at the end of the day, I know you. How did you choose? Why Rice?
I had a really, really good relationship with their coach, and I absolutely loved the campus. They were on a really good trajectory. Like, we're getting votes in the AP poll when I was getting recruited, like playing it tight with Texas A&M at the time every year. Mm-hmm. And at the time, Texas A&M was in the top 15. And they were in a great, like not a great conference, but like they were winning their conference. And I wanted to be on a winning team, but also the academics were super good. I absolutely love the campus. But the one thing I didn't realize is how far away it was. And I think that would have really been tough. Now in hindsight, like that would have been super hard. But with all those things combined, like I was set with Rice. Like if that coach hadn't left, I'm sure I would have been happy there. There would have been ups and downs, but like there's give and take with both programs. Like freshman year, I would have missed my parents, but like I would have played probably. And so from that aspect, it wouldn't have been as hard.
Now, who came in second at the time? Had Michigan offered? And
no,
at that time. So who did you choose Rice over? I'm just curious at that time.
Actually, no Power Fives had even offered, and I committed in like October of my junior year. But I didn't really have like a second. There was Colorado State was in the mix, and I actually had scheduled a visit out there. And then committed. So then we just went skiing, which was great. And there were like some others like Delaware and Indiana State, but no names that are like very impressive. Like Rice was definitely the front runner, and there was no other school that really came close at the time.
So now the coach leaves, Rice, you decommit. How did Michigan come? How'd this unfold in terms of you getting connected to Michigan?
Yeah. I decommitted from Rice like end of April. Like it was like Easter weekend when the coach left, and then it was probably 2 more weeks after that until I got out of my NLI. I always get confused now with those acronyms.
It's getting confusing, isn't it?
I know it is. So yeah, got out of that, and then through that process, as I was trying to get out of my letter, my AU coach was reaching out to these schools that I had written down. And I didn't want to completely open my recruitment because I was like, I don't know who's going to be calling, and I don't want there to be like an influx if there is. So I made a list like, Duke, Vanderbilt, Michigan, at the time, Ohio State. Like I just wanted good academics and fairly good basketball, more looking towards a Power 5 level, because if I was going to stay at a mid-major, I would just go to Rice. So I ended up decommitting, and I only did because Coach Arico told my AU coach she was interested. And then opened it, and she called the first night, and I was still really tossed up if I wanted to go to Rice or Michigan. It took me like probably 3 more weeks to commit. And then once I did, it was like the night before my grad party, and we went to the mall, bought all the Michigan stuff in the mall, and there wasn't a lot because we were in Ohio. So
yeah, I was going to say you're near, you're down in Ohio.
I think we went to like the Rally House down there, and there were some hats and shirts, and we were like, great, let's get it all. So we did, and yeah, my parents were like, you just gotta commit with 2 feet and like don't look back. No matter what happens, like you gotta put your all into it. And like if something happens, like you can always transfer, but like just try your best and don't regret your decision. So that's what I did.
What were your first impressions of Coach Barnes-Arico?
Well, this is also kind of really random, but Layla, my coach had a good relationship with Coach Arico because of Layla. Okay. And they wanted her to come on a visit my junior year of high school. And Dante, my AAU coach, was like, yeah, like you come up with her and see if you want to play at this level. So I actually visited Michigan with Layla and a few other girls on our AAU team. And I was like scared for my life when I watched that practice. I was like, I don't want to do this. I like mid-major is good for me. This is way too intense. Like I kind of just want to cruise through and enjoy my time with basketball. Like I don't want it to be a full job. And I remember that when I was getting recruited by her, and I was like, this is going to be a lot. But my dad had some good advice, and he said, you should go with the option that makes you feel like you're going to throw up because you're going to grow the most. And I said, well, that would be Michigan. So.
Well, Ohio State made you throw up too, just for different reasons. Just because of the general bacterial condition of class. But
before a lot of football games, I see a lot of undergrads taking your dad's advice.
Yeah.
But they're actually throwing. So I don't know if they take it the right way, but that's a different topic.
And by the way, I know you're from Ohio. I think you're close to Cincinnati. Now, there's no like pictures of you as a kid with like Ohio State gear on that you had to scrub off social media or anything, are there?
I'm like gonna pull one up right now because
this is what you got to worry about.
My cousin actually sent me one the other day after we won, and she was like, I just have to remind you where you came from.
Oh, boy.
And I was like, this is crazy. But they like forced me into it,
Oh, man.
Now, but at that age, you're not making your own decisions. So if anything,
I was going to say that you did that without consent. Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely like Halloween photos of me in Ohio State football gear, which is really unfortunate. But I ended up choosing the right side, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, absolutely. You came to that's awesome. So
well done.
Now that you're at Michigan, what do you think your biggest strength is on the court, and how have you worked to refine that at Michigan?
I think just my IQ and like my decision making. I think coming in freshman year, you don't know what's a good shot versus a bad shot, and I mean, I got told the hard way a lot, and coach was like, don't shoot the ball right now in practice. I mean, I didn't even get a chance on the court to shoot it, which was totally warranted. It didn't deserve to be. But I think, decision-making for sure. Like, it's come a long way from freshman and sophomore year, like just putting my teammates in good positions to be successful and taking better shots and making great passes and reads off of what the defense is giving you. I think I've matured a lot in that area.
Did that come from just, experience and a lot of, practice and repetition? Or did you also, how much does film study play into you improving as a player?
It plays a lot. I utilize film for my defense and like tendencies of the teams we're playing against. But I think for me personally, offensively, I think it's been more of repetition and like getting actual game reps. I remember last year I had a conversation with coach just about how the game had slowed down so much for me. And I think that's what's different about our freshmen now. Like it didn't take them time for the game to slow down. And like it took me 2 years, which like everyone's on their own path. But like I think that's why they're so successful right now is because they're not getting sped up. And I mean, hopefully these non-conference games are getting their legs under them for like our conference season because that's a whole different beast. But I think that's like really the biggest difference between high school to college is the speed and pace of the game. But they've adjusted so well.
Why do you think that is?
I just think in high school you're taking all the shots, like you get to make every single decision. And like if you watch film from high school to college, it's just like so much slower. There's no shot clock. I was like watching Alyssa's sister the other day and I'm just like, they don't even really push the ball in transition at all. Like people aren't getting paint touches. And if they are, they're just like shooting it, but they're not getting paint touches to kick it out and everything like that. Like I just think there's a different level to college that you have to be sprinting every single possession or you're getting left in the dust because everyone's in such good shape and that's just how it's played.
And you mentioned your non-conference schedule. I wouldn't call it easy. You obviously took on South Carolina, and I think people who saw the game and saw the score were like, wow, this is sort of like maybe it's overused, but like a measuring stick game, like
yeah,
to go toe-to-toe with probably the best team, maybe in the last 10 years or so.
Yeah.
You hit 5 threes, I think, scored 19 or 20 points. What were your impressions leaving that game? About the
I
team
was like I was super impressed because honestly, I had no idea how that game was going to go. Like our exhibition game was ugly and that was only maybe a week beforehand. And I was like, oh boy, like this could be really interesting. But I think we all were just had kind of more confidence to us and realized that we can play with anyone in the country. And like, it doesn't matter who's in front of us. Like if we play how we know we can, like we could beat anyone. And I think ever since then we've grown our confidence and like I think you can see it on the court and we're meshing so well with each other. Our chemistry is so good and like it's honestly one of my favorite teams to be a part of ever.
What were you personally working on in the off season?
Nothing. I'm not even gonna lie. This summer I was in New York and I played open gym. Yes.
Just being an ARP.
I played open gym with some Columbia girls like twice a week, but only for a month and maybe even 3 weeks. But I did come back to school and like got everything back, which was great. But honestly, I worked on taking a load off. That's what I did.
I was hoping that you were going to tell us how much you worked on that Euro step that we saw against Lehigh.
I don't know what got into me because
that was
like times.
If for folks that are listening along, you got to go to YouTube and just put her name in and say Euro step Lehigh or something, and you'll see this really cool play. And then did you call bank? Did you call glass on the shot?
I didn't, but I meant to.
Okay, it counted anyway,
Yeah.
so that's cool.
Yeah.
Now it seems like for years, Michigan's women's basketball kind of had a post-centered approach to the game through low block offensively and relying on a little bit of a rim protector back there. And now we mostly have guards and wings. It's been written how lots that you're kind of playing out of position a little bit. How hard is that for you to play that role?
It's tough, but I think it's just tough from a defensive perspective. Like I've never really guarded a post, and I had to ask Coach Mel, like, can I put an arm bar on them? Like, or when can I put my hands on them and not? And like, what's a foul? What's not? So like, kind of felt like I was going back to step one in a sense with defensively. Offensively, it's been great. Like, I mean, they're putting their top 2 defenders on Olivia and Sila, and I like get the scraps. So it's good for me. But honestly, it's been fun. Like we just are able to play so much faster. And the South Carolina game though like gave me a wake up call because the next day my shoulders and back were so sore. I was like, is this typical? And Coach Mel was just like, you got to get used to it and you'll be fine. But it's like a whole different game down there. Like it's not as much finesse and not, I mean, you just got to think a lot differently and what shoulder are they going to? What hand are they dominant from? And I mean, they're like facing you with their back. So like you just got to think differently a little bit.
Well, it is interesting because I know a lot of people think in basketball height is the only thing that matters, right? So they get nervous when they see, like, you got Northwestern. We're recording this early, and you got Northwestern coming up this weekend, and they've got some they've got some height. But at the same, so tell the average fan why it works then for you to play small versus a tall team.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Nas was a prime example of that. She was like 6', 6'1", but like so strong that it didn't even matter who was defending her. And honestly, like I think just like your grit and tenacity matters more than anything. Like I'm probably not as strong as any post in the Big Ten, or there's been way stronger posts than me that we've played this year, but like you got to use your smarts. Like I'm taking charges on them and stepping in front of them and knowing what hand they're going to. But it's just completely different. And we have advantages than ourselves on offense. So it's been a good adjustment.
Yeah. Now everyone knows it follows the team. There's a lot of new faces on the team this year, right? We had, and a lot of movement. It's crazy. It's kind of like what happened on the men's team, really. You had six people transfer out, 3 people transferred in, 4 people return, including yourself, and 5 incoming freshmen. I mean, how hard was that team to gel? You mentioned you had the exhibition game, and I mean, it's interesting because we're seeing it not only in women's, on the men team as well. It's really cool. What did you guys do to gel to take all those new players and teammates and become one?
I think we did a lot in the summer to like get to know each other personally. We spent some time at Macy's Cottage in Muskegon. That was super fun, and I think we gelled off the court really well in the summer, and then in October and really now like have gelled a lot better on the court. And I think that's just come with time. Like I remember in the summer and even in October, like I was throwing passes where I thought players would be, and it would be turnovers, and I would have so many turnovers every practice just because I was thinking ahead and like they weren't there yet, or I was just like, we just weren't on the same page.
Sure.
And now we're connecting so well, I feel like, and those passes are there now and they're in the right spots, or I'm reading them and where they're going to be better. But again, I think it just comes with time and reps and games together.
You're the lot of those new faces, as we mentioned. A lot of them were freshmen, so the 5 incoming freshmen. By the way, we've asked them we asked Olivia to think of a cool branding Fab 5 equivalent, so she's working on that. We gave her a little bit of homework. If you got any ideas, let us know. But as the senior sort of in that group, tell us about your role and how your experience kind of impacts the role that you play on the team.
Yeah, I mean, I've tried to balance it a little bit between like being hard on them and like making sure that they're up to the standards of Michigan basketball and working as hard as we possibly can, because that's what we've prided ourselves on every single year that I've been here. But also like knowing that they're freshmen and having patience with them through it. So I mean, I am so far from perfect. Like I go home in the evenings after practice sometimes and like beat myself up on things I said or how my tone was and things like that. But I just think like they listen so well and like are so moldable and just willing to learn. So they make it a lot easier on me and the coaches, which is so nice. But they're just so eager to get better every single day, and they make everyone's lives so much easier because of that.
Now, with all this, as fans that aren't in the room and in the locker room, you're looking at the end of the year, seeing all these people leave. It says, oh man, there's a lot of turmoil there. I mean, did you ever think about transferring? Why did you stick around?
I didn't think for one second about transferring last year. I thought about it like previously when I wasn't playing, but I still like I don't know. I have a loyalty to Michigan and to coach, and like in the back of my mind I knew I wanted to stay here. And last year I it never even really crossed my mind. And even even when players were telling me they were leaving, I was like, that's sad. But like if you don't want to be here, then I'd rather you not be here.
Right.
But like I said, like I have a loyalty to coach, and she's given me such an incredible opportunity. I absolutely love Michigan. Like I'm getting a degree from the business school, which is like a top 5 degree. My community here is phenomenal. I have such good friends, even outside of the basketball team. I couldn't imagine a better place. And I talk about it with Alyssa all the time. Like even Olivia asked me the other day when we were in Florida, she's like, if you had to do it all over again, would you pick Michigan? And I was like, absolutely. And I wouldn't change anything. Like if I didn't play again freshman year, even half of sophomore year, like even how hard that was and how many tears were shed from it, like I would do it in a heartbeat.
Well, we're glad you stuck around because it's obviously with all those minutes played and this point scored, you're making a hell of an impact. So that's good. Off the court, today's world has changed in the NCAA with NIL and all this kind of stuff. I know that you were signed by Champion Circle. They put out that little nice graphic and cool looking thing. And again, for those listening, Champions is a collective, the main collective that serves, the interest of student athletes at the University of Michigan. Just out of curiosity, walk us through how that came about. And obviously, we're not looking for you to reveal the money, but your obligations, I assume, are social media related or whatever. But I'm just curious, like, did they call you? When did it come about? And what do you have to do?
Honestly, a big reason people transferred was because of money. And coach knew that. So a huge credit to her because she, this summer and spring, went out fundraising for us. Like she helped a ton with getting the Champion Circle. Everyone on our team is signed to it, and are receiving money. So it's honestly a credit to her because she went to so many events and like didn't spend time with her family to go travel to donor events and speak on behalf of our team to raise money for us. And she knew the importance of it in this new landscape. So, I mean, everything was like pretty much through her. They reached out once everything was finalized and everything. But yeah, shout out Coach Rico.
Well, that's good. It's important. I mean, if you don't ask, a lot of times people may not, unless they have a self-driven passion, they may not write a check. But if they
Right.
sit in a room and someone asks them and tells them how it would be used, I think it's great that she did that, and it's great that everybody's signed.
And people still a lot of people just still do not know how this works. And I know comment sections are not the best cross section of the country, but like you'll see people say, well, what do you mean the athletic department just needs to take all that money they get and pay these players? And you're like, right. It's not how it works. Not how it works yet, I suppose.
Not yet.
Yeah.
But we've been to some of those fundraising events, and it's kind of like why we're here. We love talking to the athletes, and I think once you get to hear the stories and hear who they are as people, it becomes a lot easier to see why it's so important to support the cause. But it's a weird catch-22 because if you're Kim Barnes-Rico, it's like I can go raise money, but I kind of have to be successful for people who want to contribute, but I kind of need people to contribute if I'm going to be successful. So it really does take players like you that come to the program, develop the program, build on year upon year upon year of success, and that probably was a big reason why she was able to do it and be successful.
I mean, been to the tournament 4 straight years, and I think 6 of the last 7 or something like that. So, I mean, they've had success, and I think I'm glad to hear that she got out there because it's an important thing. And yeah, it's the reason why we got involved because we give to give to the athletic department, give to Champions, and they all have different purposes. But Dan and I said, what else could we do directly and to help pay student athletes and frankly get them some exposure that hopefully someone says, hey, we should work with that person. And speaking of that, I think you have any other NIL deals. I don't know if they're still in place. I've seen them. So you want to give a shout out? It looks like you've got, as far as I can tell, you got at least 2. You got one with no cap and one with home field.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about each one. Tell us about your NIL deals. How'd they come about? How'd you find them? And what do you have to do?
A lot of them depend. Like I'll reach out to some brands, like I don't know if you know Bivouac on State
Yeah.
Street. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I reached out to them and we have a deal, and it's just like a discount that I get for their clothes, which is great for me. I just like get all my family gifts from there. It's awesome. And then some of them just like reach out to me either on Influencer or there's some other apps. And I can kind of go through it and see if it's a good fit for me. And like the home field one was such an easy thing to do. Like, I mean, they sent me this like crew neck thing, and I mean, I would have worn it anyway and would have posted in it anyway. And I mean, that like those type of stuff is so easy to do. And I mean, as long as it aligns with like my brand and isn't anything that is too crazy, like I typically will take advantage of, but also don't want to like dilute my personal brand either. Like don't want to be taking on too much to where
Sure.
like those advertisements don't really mean anything.
Yeah. What? You don't have to answer this, but out of curiosity, what's some of the crap you've had to sift through? Like, is there just like, I mean, I'm sure it's not like crazy stuff, but I'm just curious. Like, what are some of the things you've turned away?
There's this really dumb one, like O'Keefe's working hands. This like
Yeah.
they continue to continue to message me on this platform, and the compensation is the O'Keefe's working hands like lotion. And I'm like, I don't want that. Like I don't want to. No, I'm good. Like please stop messaging me.
I'd like to give a shout out to the Leaders and Next guys, because they actually pay cash to their guests. We're not giving away hand cream or merchandise. So yeah, that's a weird, I know those commercials. They always sold some old guy with cracked hands working from the farm.
What's the crossover demographic of like
yeah, not
I have
even
no
close.
idea.
Now, I will say, Olivia, who had her own landscaping business, you should ask her. She may be a loyal O'Keefe's customer. You never know.
Oh, there you go.
Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, with how much they're reaching out, I'm sure they've sent her some stuff. So
Shout out O'Keefe's, by the way. Sorry, O'Keefe's. Yeah. We've slandered her great name, but lay off Jordan.
So if what brand would you, if in your ideal world, what brand or service would you want to rep, be an influencer for?
I would say Patagonia. I mean, I love all things outdoors. And they're just like such a good environmental brand.
Yeah.
I would say them, but I mean, I get the discount with Bivouac anyway, so I kind of already am working with them.
Now,
yeah, but
I'm just spitballing here, just brainstorming a bit. What about almonds? Like the whole commercial could be you, like, doing your thing.
That's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think about that.
Mm-hmm.
I might have to capitalize on that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just spitballing. I could see it being a good commercial.
Hey, you never know. They may get those farmers that the California almond producer guys.
That's right.
If you were, again, you're a tenured player in the NCAA system now. What change? We've got the portal, we've got NIL. If you were in charge of the NCAA, what changes would you think about making?
I actually had a project about this in one of my classes, which is funny. And this would just really benefit me. So this is why I want the change. I want redshirting minutes, or redshirting like availability based on minutes rather than games played for the sports that have minutes. So like football, basketball, soccer, because right now, and there's a proposal, but right now it's if you play in one game, you lose your redshirt status. But they're proposing to move it to like 30% of games to reflect football and wrestling.
Right.
And I looked at my stats freshman year, and I played in like 5.6% of all minutes, but played in like 60% of the game. So redshirt status gone. But right. I'm like, I would love to have that year back, because, like a lot of freshmen just get thrown in for garbage minutes and lose their eligibility, and it really stinks.
Yeah, I always thought basketball was really strange with the redshirt rules compared to football because football it's 4 games. Well, there's only
Right.
there's you sit there and go like as a percentage of the season, that's a lot. Basketball, it's like that's crazy. You're playing 30 something games. It's like, wait a minute, what are we doing here? So good proposal. Okay, well, when you're done playing basketball, you can take your Ross degree and maybe go run the NCAA.
There we go. That might
I
be
mean,
perfect.
yeah. Well, and now nice transition to academics. I mean, you've been an academic all Big Ten the last couple of years, probably going to be one this year. Sounds like, and you're in Ross, which is one of the best undergraduate business programs in America. Dan got his MBA from Ross. How do you? What's the secret to balancing academics and athletics? I'm amazed, given the amount of games you guys play, and then now the new travel with the expanded Big Ten, you're on planes. I mean, and you guys football games are always on Saturday. You guys have weird, Tuesday, Thursday night. I mean, how do you make this work?
It's just a lot of time management and studying, and a lot of like meeting with your professors. But the biggest thing is all the professors are so chill about it, especially in Ross. Like I've never had any problems. They're always more than willing to help and review the material that I missed. But also like making friends in Ross that aren't athletes, so you don't have to worry that they might be traveling too. But like just making genuine relationships so they can help you out and study with you. And just like we get free tutors too. So in my freshman and sophomore year, I took a lot of advantage of that. And I think just all of those things really can set you up for success.
Yeah, got to have a couple NARPs on the squad just to keep the project going. Yep.
I didn't want to say it, but yeah.
And what's funny is like they've got no excuse in terms of like, oh, hey, I was busy. You're like, oh, really? I just took the red eye back from Rutgers, or
I mean, I'm saying like, I'll be like, I can meet at 9 a.m. on Friday, and they're like, oh no, like
it's too early.
I'm going out Thursday. I can't do that. I'm like, and I'm landing at 3 a.m. I don't care.
To be fair, if karaoke night's still Thursday at Good Time Charlie's, maybe take it easy on them. Just speaking.
They're more going to Rick's or something.
Oh,
so
well, yeah.
Well, that is their sport. I mean, they are scholarship bar folks. I mean, you got to respect the grind. That's a real grind.
At 9 a.m. on Friday morning.
Probably. Yeah. You're right.
So now, Ross, I mean, talk about. I mean, this. I don't know if this is cool or not because this could maybe increase the nerd factor. I mean, you're big into finance. It sounds like because you had some internship at an alternative investment firm in New York City. I mean, this is not exactly low tech stuff. Tell us a little bit about how that internship. Did you find that internship? I know there's a Michigan that the CEO has a Michigan connection. Is that how it came about?
Yeah, I went on a career venture to New York through the athletic department.
Nice.
The summer before, and met him there, and his family in Dow's coaching position. So knew him through that. He kind of introduced me to it and pretty much like put it in my lap. And I was like, I mean, this guy has a ton of connections and can help me in the future. So like, let me just go to New York and do a really good job, and hopefully he can get me a job. But yeah, fine. I like working with numbers, would like to see if I can do something in sports before I might fall back into finance. So that's the goal right now. Just networking a lot. I think like working at ESPN or something on the producer side would be really cool, or like sports marketing. So trying to go that path a little bit, but I think finance is super interesting too.
How are the Excel skills?
They're very good. I've taken some Excel courses in Ross, and I would say they're like pretty solid.
Good. Okay.
Kind of an important skill, but so not coaching. So when you talk to, so when your career in basketball is over, whenever that is, it's more on the business side of sports and not the coaching side of sports.
Yeah, I thought like freshman year I would want to be a coach, but now seeing the ins and outs of it, and after what happened last year with everyone leaving, and like coach poured so much into them and they just left, and I was like, I couldn't do that. Just like build relationships with girls and have them leave and do everything with NIL now. Like it just it kind of takes away from actually coaching kids and building them up
Yeah.
as humans. So
I don't know how college coaches do it. It's a 24/7 grind. And to your point,
yeah,
with the portal now, which look, I'm a supporter of the portal, I think, for the player, but for the coach, they don't have, unlike professional sports where people are under contract and they kind of know who's going to be around next year and they can kind of plan around that and recruit and they can draft around it. I don't know how coach, thinks about the roster and goes, okay, what holes do I have to fill? Because those holes may change. And so it's got to be a grind. And the travel and it's just like, oh boy. I mean,
yeah.
I know
And
they
then
get, I know they get, they get paid a decent amount of money, but I mean, still, it's tough.
Yeah, and
So.
recruiting too. Like you're talking to like 12-year-olds daily, and they don't even know how to hold a conversation, and you're just like, what am I doing with my life?
That's the craziest part is when talking with you and talking with Olivia, when the action starts at like 12 or 13, I think you said 8th grade. That's crazy because like I don't even remember a ton of like what went on when I was in 8th grade. I mean, I do, but like it wasn't serious stuff. So life decisions, you're making life decisions, and you're talking to a person whose job depends on you in a couple of years, which is somewhat crazy. But real quick, this is actually a good segue from the transfer portal. One of the advantages I think of it is, I guess, parity, maybe. Like, before you might have one team that just stocks the whole bench. And the transfer portal allows people to maybe find a situation that seemed right when they were 17 that doesn't seem as right when they're, I don't know, 19 or 20. Women's college basketball seems like it historically has had a lot less parity than other sports. Like Tennessee's run, maybe mix in one or two other teams like Stanford, UConn's run, South Carolina's run. Do you see the transfer portal and some of the new NCAA changes helping to maybe break that up a bit? Obviously, you saw Iowa make a huge run, last few years. But I'm just curious if you think the transfer portal, in particular, or maybe that's not your impression of college basketball, but it seems like it's had less parity, and I could see the transfer portal having a big effect on that.
Yeah, no, I definitely think it can even the playing field out. I mean, we're seeing it now this season with like no one even transferred from South Carolina though, but like UConn got a ton of good transfers in, and they're number one. I mean, USC got a ton in from Kiki Uriafin and others, and they're killing it. I mean, like UConn's always solid, but I think for the other programs that haven't been your like generational teams, I think it evens it out a lot.
We're as a successful women basketball player, I'm sure there's a lot of young girls that look up to you all. What advice, as you look back and now, given what you know now, what advice would you give a young girl who has a dream of playing basketball at the collegiate level or beyond?
Like aside from just like working hard, obviously you need to like put in extra effort, but like don't take advantage of like the position you're in now. Like really just enjoy being a kid who has no pressure on them. Like no one's really watching you from like a fan perspective other than your parents and like hopefully some college coaches. And so there's like really no pressure. And like I wish I understood that. Like people told me that, but I didn't understand it. Like I look back on my senior year and wish I just had fun and didn't care about my stats. And like even now, I would give advice to kids like don't even look at your stats. I don't look at my stats until the end of the year. I don't want to know what I'm shooting. I don't want to know what I'm averaging. I don't care. Like I just want to go out there and play as hard as I can, and the result is the result. Like just go out there and have fun with your friends and play the game.
Mm-hmm. I wish you would have said this earlier, because I apologize then for telling you that you probably didn't know that you were the number 3 scorer on the team and the leader in defensive rebounds.
No, I did know that. I did know
that. Just, that I doubled down on that mistake, but I think it's worth noting that
that's
you're a key contributor.
I think you were saying I think it was your junior year when you were like you got super locked in on your field goal percentage and you had this 50% number, and everything else probably just blurred around that, and you just got locked in on that one number. I know you love numbers, but I think that's very relatable, and can understand how it could be good advice. the women's game's at an interesting point. A lot of popularity. It's growing fast. What do you think can be done even more to continue to grow the game, draw more viewership, get more fans hooked?
I think just like putting us on platforms where people can watch. Like, I feel like we should all either be on like ESPN Plus if we're not on like a nationally televised, like a Fox or an ESPN. But like if we were all on one network, it would just be so much easier. Like you got Peacock and you got Big Ten Plus, ESPN Plus. With the Pac-12, that was even harder to watch last year. I mean, it's just like all over the place, and it's very difficult for viewers to see their teams play. So if there was like one package that could include everything, that would be great.
It's a great point because even the men's game last night. So again, they played, Wisconsin, big game, Wisconsin number 11. Michigan wins. Game's at 9:00 Eastern time, and it was on Peacock. Like two big schools with big alumni bases, and it's nowhere to be found on kind of, I guess regular TV, so to speak. And to your point, I mean, then I'm thinking, well, okay, there'll be a replay on Big Ten Network, maybe those 1 hour specials, and you can't like maybe they're going to do that, but it's like it's hard to do that. Now, one thing, I've been to several women's games, and I'll be there at Northwestern. What do we have to do to get you a student section?
I know. We have DM'd the Maze Rage. We have gotten our friends to try to come. Like, we got them there my freshman year against Indiana. It was a top 5 matchup, and they showed out the rest of the year. But I don't know. I don't know. We gotta we might need to have like a pep rally on the Diag. I don't know.
So I think you challenge several large fraternities to a shooting contest.
Oh.
A game of horse, something, whatever. Losers have to show up. Little pride thing.
That's good.
God forbid something happens and the frats win. What happens?
I know.
They get free tickets.
Okay, so they're showing up either way.
They're showing up either way. They can get maybe they get like a free pizza from whoever serves the pizza. Like something like a contest where it's a win-win.
Yeah.
And because it's it is a great game. Look, the team is now 7-1. And as we talked about earlier, the only loss was a 6-point loss to the defending national champion, who was on like a 40-something game win streak. They just lost for the first time in 43 games, I think. So anyway, and you guys barely got beat. And so this is a top 25 team now. Folks, if you're in the area, you can score tickets for I was just on SeatGeek. These tickets are great seats for not much. In fact, I think the SeatGeek fees are higher than the ticket price. It's crazy.
Probably.
And, the game, and there's free parking at Chrysler. So there's no real good economic excuse, not if you're in the area, to come to this game, because it's great fun to watch. I mean, it's a really fun team to watch this year, between the incoming freshmen and the, I guess we'll call it the core 4 that return. I mean, it's a really great team. Do yourself a favor, come out and support the team. Jordan, it's been a blast talking to you. Had a lot of fun. Glad you returned. And it's been fun getting to know you a little bit more. And I hope everybody will follow us on social media. We're easy to find. Just look up Leaders in Next. And you can see us in Podbean, YouTube, and Instagram. So thanks again, everybody. Take care. Go Blue.
Go Blue.